Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next level tactics. From offsite and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition.
Site speed. How to increase your website speed for SEO. Slow sites are punished by both users and search engines. Users bounce and search engines can reduce your rankings. To optimize your site for search engines and users, your site needs to be wicked fast. In this post, we'll discuss the how and why for site speed, including ways, tools to fix your site speed for SEO. Let's get at it. Let us help with your site speed. If you're looking to speed up your site, let us help. Our team has experience optimizing sites for wicked fast speeds. Here's one example. We guarantee the following for all sites when it comes to site speed. 1. Guaranteed 90+ score on Google PageSpeed Insights for desktop. 2. Guaranteed 75+ score on Google PageSpeed Insights for mobile. 3. Less than 3 seconds load time on GT metrics. 4. No break in website functionality or design. Here's how we do it. Reduce redirects, minimize HTTP requests, reduce server response time, defer JS, enable compression, enable browser caching, including edge caching, minify resources, optimize images, optimize CSS delivery, optimize fonts, eliminate render blocking resources, minify JS and CSS, prioritize above the fold content, keep your scripts below the fold, lazy loading external scripts. How site speed can impact SEO rankings. Google has indicated that site speed would be a factor they take into consideration for ranking purposes. It's becoming an increasing weight in the algo. So if you want to stay competitive online, site speed is something you have to pay attention to. If you look into the nitty-gritty about the things that affect your site's download and response time, you'll realize that it's basically all about creating a clean site. You want to have a site that's not riddled with messy code and images that aren't optimized. What can you do to ensure your site is performing fast enough? Here is a quick outline of some of the easier things you can do. If your site takes more than a few seconds to load, then your rankings, your bounce rate, and more may be adversely affected. But should that be your main focus right now? While site speed is something you should pay attention to, it may not be the top priority at the moment. If you have poor content, if your site isn't optimized in the first place, if it doesn't have a well-organized navigation structure, if you have poor backlinks, or if you have an abundance of pages with duplicate content, then these issues probably take precedence. Bounce rate and performance will not be telling you the true story unless you start with a well-designed site that's optimized. Free tools to measure site speed. Site speed can actually be considered in a number of different ways, and all of them culminate in your overall speed and loading times. Document complete based page loading times. When you access a web page, the information streams in gradually. You see words and images appear on the page at different times, and this is especially apparent on slow-loading websites. A web page is considered loaded as document complete when it has loaded enough to allow a user to start clicking buttons or entering written text. It's possible that not all of the content is fully loaded, but a user can begin to take action. Full render-based page loading times. On the other hand, it's also possible to measure page loading times based on when the entire page is fully loaded. This loading speed is always longer than a document complete loading speed, but the difference between the two values may be different for two different sites. Time to first byte. Finally, it's also possible to measure your overall site speed by looking at the time to first byte metric, which is the amount of time it takes for a browser to download the first byte of information from an online source. Essentially, it measures whether or not there is any significant delay between the request for information and your web server's response. Where page loading times generally depend on your site settings and the type and amount of content you have on your page, TTFB measurements are usually indicative of your server settings. Below are some more sources to help you get your site speed optimized. Google PageSpeed Browser Plugin, Google Webmaster Tools, SEOmo's browser toolbar, webpage test, eSlow, Pingdom, GT metrics. What is considered a slow website loading speed? Now that we know how site speed can be measured in different ways, we can come up with a ballpark for what is considered good or bad metrics. Like I mentioned earlier, Google doesn't publish what types of site speeds it takes into consideration, or if there are any specific numbers it looks for, but we can make reasonable assumptions for target loading times based on other sites we've seen, and based on a recent analysis by Google. According to this analysis, the average, full render, page loading time is roughly 7 seconds on desktop devices, with a median page loading time of roughly 3 seconds. On mobile devices, the average page loading time is more than 10 seconds, with an average of nearly 5. It's difficult to compare individual sites against such broad metrics, especially with such a sharp rift between the median and mean values, but if your site loads slower than the average page, you can generally consider your site to be too slow. According to Moz, the median TTFB figure for high-ranking websites is roughly 0.4 seconds, with that same figure being closer to 0.6 seconds for lower-ranking websites. If your site's TTFB is greater than 0.6 seconds, you have some room for improvement. If you're looking for a way to measure your own site speed to compare it against these metrics, try out Webpage Test. It's a free tool that will allow you to perform multiple types of tests to measure your site's performance.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.